Hello and welcome to this knowledge clip about involved technology. The concept of involved technology and the research behind it is the work of my colleagues Meralda Slager, Erwin de Vlucht and me. Even though I will do the talking, the conceptual discussion I will put forward is the product of our collective efforts and contributions. Moreover, the project I present is in collaboration with a nursing home from Pieter van Foreest, a large nursing care organization in the Delta region of the Netherlands. My name is Schrevel. My background is in participatory research and qualitative methods. In 2016, I joined the Bachelor of Nursing program at the Hague University of Applied Sciences to work on patient participation in education, healthcare and research. Since 2018, I work at the Technology for Health Research Group and focus on stakeholder involvement in technological innovation. From this collaboration, the idea of involved technology emerged. We realized that in stakeholder involvement, we usually separate the social from the technological. The central argument then is that a misalignment between the social stakeholders results in failed technology. We never involve technology in our participatory endeavors. As such, we oftentimes overlook the value, meaning, participation and ethics of technology in participatory innovation processes. In this short talk, I will present a case study to further illustrate our journey. When we look at contemporary health systems, we will see that technology is inseparably intertwined with healthcare. From syringes through wheelchairs to CT scanners, we can no longer imagine healthcare without them. Even though technological innovation is growing exponentially, both in terms of number of innovations and functions, the actual uptake of these innovations in healthcare systems and society lags behind. This tension between the development of new stuff on the one hand and the extent to which people actively use it on the other is a well-known one. The linear model of innovation, where we start with an idea in the ivory tower and end with a product that is automatically accepted and used in society, is increasingly criticized. When we realized that a linear model of innovation is too simple, we looked for ways to make the innovation process more dynamic and contextualized. One of these new ways of working is the living lab. Living labs are physical regions or virtual realities where stakeholders from public-private people partnerships collaborate on innovation in real-life contexts. In other words, the formerly prominent university laboratory has been moved or is in the process of being moved, either physically or virtually. The major benefit of this have been described in the literature that apply to the use case at stake in this research, which is the wards of a nursing home. Firstly, contextual and situational factors both come to be understood as part of the innovation process, making it more responsive to the changing demands of stakeholders in their context. Secondly, because of the real-life setting, close collaboration with and meaningful participation by relevant stakeholders may be facilitated. This project took place in a living lab called Care Robotics in collaboration with a nursing home. The example that I want to use stems from my research into a project called Care for Freedom on closed psychogeriatric wards. Older people with dementia often develop the urge to wander freely, which is complicated by the design of the building. Small floors are stacked upon each other, as you can see in the top right side of the image. The idea of the project was to explore the possibility to provide more freedom for people with dementia on closed wards. It is easily understood that more freedom for residents results in greater risks for their safety. We brought together a project group with location managers, board managers, and researchers to work on the project. Important for now is that at the start of the project, the possibility of technology was to be avoided. To frame the project, I wish to contrast the scientific positivism philosophy with a socio-technical perspective. The traditional view on science and technology is that science unveils the truth and technology is the application of science. New scientific discovery leads to improved technology, and eventually we will have the formula of everything, and the technology to solve all our problems. The real world and neutral technologies are separated from humans by a hard divide. They interact with each other, but they don't influence each other. The social world of humans is separate from the material world of technologies. The socio-technical perspective challenges this proposition. It states that human systems, like hospitals, laboratories, or parliaments, are hybrid networks of humans and objects that influence each other. When looking at a nurse preparing a corona vaccine, and the relieved expression of the person walking out without fear for the future, shows this interconnection between technologies and humans. Moreover, technology has a substantial influence on our perspectives, ways of working, and morality. Our ideas and feelings about privacy and connectedness have changed dramatically after the introduction of the mobile phone. Because of this force that technology exerts on people, we decided to leave technology out of the original plan. If there is an opening, technology will find its way in. We designed a plan to do an in-depth exploration of this freedom versus risk problem and look for potential solutions to care for freedom. Our approach related to that of participatory action research. Short periods of data collection iterated with times of reflection and experimenting. We did observations, conducted interviews, and had group discussions with a project group. For a project where technology would not be the focus of the project, this image is pretty striking. I wish to highlight the almost absurd positioning of the screen in the healthcare context. The sign on the screen tells us that the screen is not yet connected to a network or a cable. The idea was to do experiments with an interactive screen to see if wandering elderly with dementia could be stimulated to interact with it. Obviously, that particular goal was not reached. For a long time, when I saw this image, I thought our project failed. It was only after some time and thorough reflection that I realized that this was absolutely not the case. The only point is that the value and impact of the project were not created in the areas that we expected or aimed for. I will now share some reflections on the process of the project. For researchers, providing honest accounts of our project with all of its failures and mishits can be difficult. However, from our honest accounts, I believe that we can learn the most, improve the most, and come to true innovation of practices. The first mishit of our project revolves around the question of when to involve stakeholders. The answer to that is painfully simple, from the moment you have your first idea. If we started talking with healthcare staff before we designed the project, we would have found that our conceptualization of the problem did not resonate with the sentiments on the work floor. The Care for Freedom theme stemmed from the organization's apex, whilst the work floor encountered issues in delivering good care. Organizations and researchers should therefore start the dialogue with stakeholders about the problem at hand from the start, with a focus on their role, their priority, their preferred results, and their contributions. The second problem revolves around the question of responsiveness. Is there enough reflectiveness and flexibility to align the project with the perspectives of stakeholders? In this case, there wasn't. There was too many external pressure which pushed the project into its own direction. One of them is commonly heard: the pressure to deliver results, to show the added value of participation in technological development. And ironically, under this pressure, technology reclaimed the stage at the expense of participation. As mentioned before, if there is an opening, a window of opportunity, technology will find its way in. For a long time, I wondered why my project failed. It is only now, months after, that I realized the project didn't. The added value of the project, the impact of it, is emerging now. In the end, the whole project was one big learning experience, which resulted in a close collaboration between our institutes. We learned how participation could have prevented our meandering, and how participation calls for even more flexibility than we built in the project design. We learned that the rhythm of the nursing home is totally different from the rhythm of research and education. We pushed participation higher on the organizational agenda, and we created awareness about the difference between pseudo-participation and meaningful participation, the latter being the longitudinal involvement of stakeholders and giving them direct influence in decision-making. We created a participatory infrastructure, a participatory movement, and a shared desire for meaningful technology. Often, when we study technology and technological innovations, we take a positivist position. Technology is neutral, it is the application of objective and universal knowledge, and technology is malleable. If we figure out what users' problems, needs, desires, and habits are, we can simply plug those into the technology, and bam, universal usage everywhere. We tend to focus on the possibilities and functionalities of technology and assume that when they are in order, usage will follow naturally. We wish to challenge this internalized perspective on technology with the perspective of involved technology. And instead of the question of possibility or functionality of technology, we aim to explore other aspects relating to technology, such as value, meaning, participation, and ethics. The term involved technology emerged from conversations about stakeholder involvement in technology development. However, we soon realized that in the innovation process, technology is a participant as well. In our project, the technology, however failed it may have looked in the picture, was the vehicle of change. It brought together people and pushed them to create a shared vision. It acted on us to do something different. It even pushed the organization to hire a social scientist to align its research activities and involve all. Involved technology realized that innovation processes are situated. In particular, living labs can best be seen as situated practices. They are closely intertwined with the local and geographical context, the socio-cultural and socio-economical landscape on the macro to the micro level. And above all, the work is done by individuals, not nameless actants. All these perspectives come together in this particular project, this situated practice. It is therefore unique in its own particular way and cannot be readily generalized or transferred to another context. In line with my arguments before, I strongly urge researchers in living labs that study technological innovation to shift their focus from products to processes. In our case, the technology failed, not the project. Our project could have easily been dismissed if we took the product as the ultimate result. Nevertheless, without this project, our progress would not have been realized. Technology was the vehicle of change and not the ultimate end result. The value and impact of our project did not present itself in ways that we aimed for or expected. In order to be sensitive to this impact, researchers have to open up their frames of desired outcomes and study what impact is created by which actions from host perspectives. This means that value and impact have to be described as situated outcomes, outcomes that matter to the individuals in that specific time and context. I am aware of the controversial nature of my next two remarks, but I'm convinced that this is the only way to realize meaningful impact in technological development. First, and by all means, resist the temptation of generalizability and transferability. Innovation happens in a context because of the work of individual people. If you realize this, it has to become evident that the work of particular individuals in a particular context can never be generalized and transferred without losing meaning. No matter how hard funding agencies or CEOs call for it, don't give in to generalizability and transferability. Because, secondly, we need to learn from our processes. We need an honest peek into the work of our peers to understand how our projects flow over time. This calls for honest accounts, such as the one that I presented. I hope others will follow and that we can start learning from each other in the near future. Thank you for your attention. I hope I inspired you with my story, and feel free to get in touch if you have any questions.